6C.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6C is consideration of a motion to approve the work plan in support of City Council's request for further research and information to guide future decisions in support of the city's commitment to a safe and welcoming community.
And Jane will lead us to you.
Thank you. So Police Chief Testa is also here to answer any questions that you might have. So this is scheduled for only 10 minutes. Hopefully it won't take too much time. At the last council meeting, about 3 weeks ago on March 17th, there were several people that spoke during the public portion of the council meeting, expressing some concerns that they had with regard to the welcomingness and the inclusivity of the city of Boulder. And some of the areas that were being focused on were the Police Professional Standards Review Panel, as well as the statistics related to police arrests. And wondering what role the HRC and the council should play in these matters. So in the intervening weeks, I've been working with the police department and the human relations department to figure out what to do. So in your packet, you have our memo that has 4 items that we're working on. So item number 1 is, of course, the current police professional standards panel. That group is about to lose 4 members of the 6 civilian members. And so we are moving forward to fill those positions. We received 29 qualified applicants, and this week they are being given preliminary interviews. As a result of those preliminary interviews, I expect to have a recommendation to me by the end of the week of 8 to 10 people that I will interview, along with an interview panel that includes a member of the Human Relations Commission and 2 other staff members, one of whom is Karen Ron. And the other one is Joyce Lira, who is our Human Resources Director. So we've got some pretty impressive and important people that will be part of that interview panel, and we'll be selecting 4 members so that that panel, which is an important one in our city, can move forward for the rest of this year. So then we need to look towards some of the questions about the future. And working with the police department, they have identified an organization that, let me get the name right, is the Police Executive Research Forum. We did some research on that group, and they are a very well-respected group that is not really aligned one way or the other with police or not police. They are sort of executive types that do research with regard to police techniques and matters. And so Greg has been in contact with them, and they have agreed, as soon as we prepare a scope of work and an RFP, for them to take a look at the way that our panel is comprised, and to take a look at other practices around the country. We feel that, at least in the state of Colorado, we're a leader and present a best practice for our panel, but we'd like to know what some other models are. And so our suggestion would be that we allow them to help us do the research and figure out what other models of professional standards review there might be. And that they would prepare a report for us, and really I think the city manager would be the client, and we would bring this back to the city council for your review, likely in the 3rd quarter. At the same time, there were some questions about the arrest and summons data that had been presented. Now, just from my point of view, I believe that our staff has done an excellent job at reviewing that data, and that we feel like we're doing a great job, and that statistically there is not the problem that has been maintained. One of the issues that I guess I want to bring forward is that when we compare arrest and summons data with our population, we are comparing apples and oranges because we don't live on an island. People actually come into and go out of the city, and some commit crimes here and some do not. And so comparing arrest and summons data with our population demographics, I think, is an unfair comparison. But we want to honor the fact that some people are feeling uncomfortable about the data. And so we've also asked this organization if they would take a look at this data. And we want to go back 5 years so that we're not just focusing on the most current data, so that we can really understand what's been going on in the police department with regard to that data. So this organization is also willing to do that. can provide the report in essentially the same time frame as the best practices report on the standards review, and we'll expect that report to come back to us again in the third quarter. So with those things moving forward, I think the issue that we really want to address in our community is the issue that was brought up this evening under open comment, where people feel uncomfortable and sometimes they're profiled by others. They feel that they're not welcome, that they're not included, that they're not treated well. And that's a problem of our entire community. And that is a problem that our Human Relations Commission is perfectly positioned to create a work plan to study. And so our recommendation is that our Human Relations Department will go to the Human Services Department will go to the Human Relations Commission and talk with them on April 20th about a proposed work plan, ask them to develop that over the next several months, and they'll bring it forward to council to seek your direction on whether or not to move forward. So that's the proposal that we're putting before you this evening, and interested in your comments and direction. Thanks.
Are there any questions first? Sam?
So I know that it's not done yet, but what's your vision for public engagement during this process? Is it just through the HRC, or would there be some other forms for that?
So in a way, there are two things moving forward. So thing number one is the HRC and their work plan, and they will certainly develop a public engagement process through their normal meetings. But the other piece of it are the reports that will come back to the city council. And my suggestion is that we would likely bring them forward at a study session if that's available, or if not, under matters from the city manager. And then I would seek council's direction on what kind of public input you want after that. I mean, these are going to be presenting, well, in particular, the Professional Standards Board presents really a policy question for the city council. And so you'll need to help us decide what kind of public input you want to seek once you see that report. The statistics, I think, will speak for themselves, and they will lead, I think, inevitably to some like improvements that we can make in the department, or a statement that we're doing a good job and keep it up. So that sort of thing is what would likely result from the statistics, I think. But the panel, I think you have a policy decision to make, and we'll be guided by what you want to do.
Other questions? Okay, comments? Oh, questions first. Okay, yeah.
Jim, the plan sounds all right with me. I want to urge staff to pay special attention to the qualifications of this group that you're talking about, to review both the data and look at best practices. I think that I just don't want it to be a group of retired police officers that are looking at these statistics. I want it to be some people that have credentials other than in law enforcement. It doesn't mean, presumably it's a group, several people to be working on it. And I just don't, I would be concerned if they were all retired law enforcement people, for example, who are doing it. The second thing is, I've made known to you for a long time, since the elk killing in Mapleton Hill, that I thought that there might come a time when we really needed a citizens review commission, and that was more weighted toward members of the public rather than law enforcement. Now it's 6 and 6, and I'll be interested to hear what that group comes up with. But my feeling going into this is that we would be better served in the community by having, by appointing people to, certainly it's appropriate to have law enforcement on that committee, but whether it should be 6 and 6, that's an open question to me. We try not to have professionals, for example, in the planning board, who dominate the planning board coming from that industry, but to have citizen oversight that we, the balance be struck elsewhere. There was something else I wanted to say, but it's gone right out the window. I'll stop.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. In the meanwhile, Mary.
So thank you for bringing this forward so quickly. I had a question with respect to item number 4, which is support the HRC in its role to advise on efforts. And I'm wondering that that part of it is for HRC to explore potential work items outside of focusing on law enforcement.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
Okay, and so what,
Page 325.
page 325. And so what they will do is they'll have a look and create a work item and then come back to us, or will they, how will that process work?
So my understanding of the way that this normally would go is that they'll talk amongst themselves about sort of how to proceed and create a work plan that they would bring back to you. That's my understanding. I suppose that it's possible that they could create a work plan and say, hey, this is within our scope. We're gonna just advise council that we intend to move forward. And if we hear otherwise, then we'll stop, but we think that we're allowed to move forward. So I would really rely on Karen Ron to help guide them in that based on her long experience with that board.
Thank you.
Lisa.
I thank you for taking this on and bringing in a third party to help us with this process. So thank you, Jane, for that. And I'm pretty much fine with the direction you're going. I want to say I support Macon in looking at maybe a better balance. And I think it has a lot to do with the credibility of this group too. And I don't know will these PERF, will they make some recommendations on the composition of the board in terms of the balance?
I think that they could. It depends what they find when they do their research,
Right.
of course. So I'm not really sure what they will come up with.
Okay. But I just want to give you support, and I want to support Megan's comments because I think they're.
Sam?
I'm going to make a motion and then put my comments out. I move to approve a work plan in support of City Council's request for further research and information to guide future decisions in support of the city's commitment to a safe and welcoming community.
Second.
And I just want to say thank you, Jane, for bringing this forward so quickly. I think this will be a really good thing for us to dig our teeth into. And I'm particularly interested in the composition of the review board as well. So I share that with Megan and Lisa. And I think you've done some really nice homework as well finding this group, but I also agree that we need to make sure that the consultants that work within that group are not strictly law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right.
The others have anything they want to add? I would echo what has been said and and also say I do.
I've remembered mine.
I
Jane, why is it we have 4 positions coming open at once? That's what I want to ask.
I actually don't know the answer to that. I think Greg might know. Greg, do you know? I think somebody moved. Actually went up to-
Good evening, or almost good morning. Greg Testa. I guess I don't know the answer to that. Patent members serve a minimum of 2 years, and so the object is to keep them rotating so that there's overlap, so that there's some continuity, both on the citizen side and on the employee side. But I don't know how it evolved to where there's 4 folks that are to be rotated on at the same time. I just haven't been involved with it based on my previous assignment. And I would just urge you to, PERF is online. It's police forum, I think it's .com or .org. And they're I've been a member of PERF. I've been a member of PERF for many, many years, but I've never participated in any conferences or anything like that. They're a national think tank and a national policy development type group, policy development center. And I think the composition of the executives there, and the staff, is a multitude of executives, probably some from law enforcement, some not from law enforcement, maybe lawyers, legislators. It's just an entire group of folks who come together and try to make it efficient.
So the thing I did want to add was, I do appreciate that we're addressing this quickly and that we're bringing in some outside perspectives. I do agree that this is an important piece of the puzzle, but the larger puzzle is about an inclusive, equitable, welcoming community. And I do think that we need to keep our eyes on that larger prize as we move forward. I do think we should, when we give direction to the HRC that we're empowering them to think about that at kind of the broader level. There's been some interesting discussions about the belonging revolution that Longmont's undertaking, which is a really interesting way of creating community dialogue, and other such measures that I think really kind of get at the larger picture of people feeling safe and welcome. So I just wanted to offer that, and I appreciate. I know this is a piece of that. So, and I thank the chief for embracing that approach as well. Anything else on this?
Okay,
I believe that, is this when we do an agenda check?
it certainly is.
Okay, we have before us, basically the big one we have before us is to address mobile homes. But I think given all that we've done